Hello guys, in this lesson we are going to add the home page with its thumbnails to the project and make it like this. If you like it, let's do it. Here we have the bullet points. The first thing that we want to do is adding the home page component to the project. Let's go to the code, right-click on the SRC folder and create a new folder with the name of Pages. We are going to put all of our page components inside the Pages folder. Right-click on it and select New Folder and give it the name of Home. Then right-click on it and select a new file with the name of homepage.js. Inside it, write RFC and press Enter for creating a functional component. Okay, the homepage component is created. We need to show the homepage at the root path of our website. For doing this, we need the routes. So let's add the app routes for handling all of our routes. Let's get back to the code, right-click on the SRC folder and select a new file and give it the name of app routes.js. Write RFC, press Enter again to create a functional component for it. Now let's use these app routes inside the app.js. Go to the app.js and after the header, put app routes. And it will be automatically imported here. Now, if we go to the browser, we see these app routes, but we don't want to see the app routes. We want to see homepage. So let's get back to the code and inside the app routes, let's add the routes and the homepage route. As you can see, we have the routes here, and inside the routes, we have route that its path is equal to slash, that is the root of the website, and its element points to the homepage component, that is the component that we created at the beginning. Now, if we go to the browser, instead of app routes, we'll see homepage because we are at the root of the website and it shows the homepage. Okay, we created the app routes and we used it inside the app.js. Now we want to load the data inside the home page, and for doing this we need sample data because we currently don't have a backend for providing the data. Let's add this data.js file. Here inside the code, first of all close this app routes and app.js, then right click on the SRC folder and create a new file with the name of data.js. Here I want to put all of my sample data. Okay, this is all the sample foods that I want to show. We have 6 of them and each one of them has an ID, a name, cook time, price, is it favorite or not, what is the origins of it, how many stars it has, its image URL, and its tags. Here as you can see, we have an image URL to show, but we don't have these images inside the project. We need to add them inside the public folder of the project. So right click on it and select new folder and give it the name of foods. Then copy all of your favorite foods inside it. But remember, their names should be exactly the same name of the image URL inside the sample food. Here we go. We just added the data.js and the food images. Now is the time for adding the food service. We'll use it for handling the API requests to the backend. But currently we don't have a backend. We just want to use this data.js. Let's add it. Here close the public folder and right click on the SRC folder and create a new folder with the name of services. Inside the services folder, create a new file with the name of foodService.js. Here we just want to add a very simple function for getting all the foods from the data.js. As you can see, we are just exporting a function with the name of getAll that is async and returns the sample foods that we created inside data.js file. We made it async because in future all the APIs to the server will be async. So at that moment we are not going to have too many things to change. Okay, the food service and data.js is ready. Let's check this one and start working on the homepage component. Inside the homepage, we want to add a reducer and load all the foods from the food service. Let's do it. Let's close this and start by adding the initial state of our reducer. As you can see, for the initial state, we are setting the foods, that is our only state at the moment for the home page, to an empty array. So by default, the foods are an empty array inside the home page. Now is the time for adding the reducer itself. Here we go. Here we have a function that gets the current state and the action that we want to do for changing the state as input. Here we switch on the action type, and here we created a new action. Should be foods loaded, sorry. And here we just return the previous state, and we override the foods with the new value that is set to the payload of the action. And by default, we return the previous state. Now that we have our reducer, it's time to use it inside the homepage component. Here we go. For using the reducer, we have the use reducer from the React package. We pass the reducer function as the first parameter and initial state of the reducer as the second parameter. So by default, our foods will be empty. But after dispatching the foods loaded event, we can change the state of the foods. And here we just destructured the state to use the foods directly inside the return part of my component. Okay, we just added the reducer to the homepage. It is the time for loading it from the food service. For doing this, we need to add a use effect. Here we just use the get all from the food service. Then we dispatch a new action with the name of foods loaded that we created inside the reducer with the payload of the foods. So it will call the reducer and it goes to this case because its type is foods loaded. Then it will update the foods state with the action.payload that is equal to the foods coming from the service. And this empty array is dependency list. If you give it an empty array, this function inside the use effect will be called once when the home page is loaded. Okay, we just successfully loaded the foods. Now is the time for creating the thumbnails and adding it to the home page. Let's go to the code and inside the Explorer, right click on the components and create a new folder with the name of thumbnails. Then right click on it and create a new file with the name of thumbnails.js. Then right click again, create a new file for the CSS, the name of thumbnails.module.css. Go to the thumbnails file and write RFC, press enter for creating the functional component for it. Then come back to the home page and then remove the return part and create an empty template tag and put thumbnails here. Then pass this foods as property into it. So write foods equal to foods. This food is the property name and this food is the value. So now if we go to the thumbnails, we can get the property here like this. Now I just want to make sure that we are getting the foods correctly. For doing this, I just want to put a curly braces here for rendering foods.length. I need to see 6 inside the browser now because I have 6 foods inside the sample data. Now let's go to the browser. As you can see, we have thumbnails and with the number of 6. So we just successfully passed the foods to the thumbnails. We could directly put the thumbnails inside the home page, but to keep it clean, I decided to create a separate component for it. So close the home page, then close the Explorer. Now here inside the thumbnails, I want to create an unordered list, and inside it, I want to map these foods into list item that each one will be a separate thumbnail. Let's do it. Okay, as I told you, we created an unordered list that inside it we just mapped the foods into LIs, that each LI represents a list item. Inside it we have a link that goes to the food page that we are going to create in the next lessons. Its path is like /food/ the food ID. For example, if the food ID is 1, it will be /food/1, and inside it we are showing the image of the food. And once again, for the classes, we just imported the classes from the thumbnails module, and we are using the classes for the UL and for the image inside the link. Now let's check out the browser. Here, as you can see, we have the images of the food that is coming out of the public and the foods folder. As you can see, we put this /foods here inside the images because our images are inside the foods folder. Here we go. We just added the image. It is the time for adding the title and the favorite icon, that is a heart icon. Here, as you can see, we added a div with a class of content that we are going to put all the contents other than image inside it. At its first line, we have a div with a class of name for showing the name of the food. And we have a span that has a conditional class here. Its first class is the favorite that always will be shown. But for its second class, we check if the favorite icon is true, then we show nothing, because by default, the favorite class makes the heart red, like it is favorite by default. But if the favorite is not true, we are showing the not class from the CSS, so we make the heart gray. Now, if we go to the browser, we'll see the name of the food and the heart icon, but because we didn't implement no CSS, they have no styles. Okay, let's continue. We just added the title and we added the favorite icon. It is the time for adding the star rating. And we'll use the star rating for showing how many stars a food has. This component is not necessary for you to learn. You can easily use a package for this purpose, but I decided to create one for my own because I didn't expect too much from it. Let's do it. Open the Explorer and right-click on the components and create a new component with the name of star rating. Inside it, create a new file with the name of StarRating.js and write RFC for creating a functional component. Then add this star rating here after the favorite icon inside the content class. As you can see, we create a div with the class name of stars that we are going to give a style to it inside the thumbnails CSS file. And we just added the star rating and we passed the stars property with the value of food dots, should be food.stars, yeah, parent food. But let's check out the browser. Okay, we have a star rating here. It means it's showing this value inside the browser. So we can work on the star rating component. Star rating has two input properties. The first one that we set from the thumbnails is stars, and the second one is the size of the stars that we wanted to have a size of 18 pixels by default. We're doing this after or before the star rating component. You need to write the star rating dot default props and make it equal to an object and set your property default value to the value that you want. I want this size to be 18 by default, so I set the size to 18. Now here I want to define an inline styles that uses this size. We want each star to have the same width and height, and I want their unit to be pixels. So by default, the stars are going to have 18 pixels width and height. And as you make the size bigger, they need to have bigger margin. And I found that the size divided by 6 is the best margin for the stars. But you can change it in any way you like. For every star, you can show one of these 3 images: a full star, an empty star, and half a star. We need to have 3 images. So let's add the images inside the public folder. Open up the Explorer, open up the public folder, then drag the images that I created inside the public folder. You can find them in the comment link in the description below. Close the public folder, then close the Explorer. Now we want to use these 3 images. For creating every single star, I'll create an inline component inside here to decide which star it needs to show. Okay, inside this star rating component, we are going to have 5 stars. And this star component inside it responsible for creating every single one of them. And this number starts from 1 to 5. It's not very sophisticated, but it does the job. Now let's use this component here. Okay, we just added this div with a class of rating. Then we added this star rating module CSS file here, and we import it with the classes. And we created an array from 1 to 5, and we mapped it to this star that creates it based on the number from here and based on the stars from here that we pass from the thumbnails. Now, if you go to the browser, we have an error. What is this error? Okay, I forgot to put // at the beginning. Okay, now it's working. As you can see, we have a beautiful star rating here that shows number of stars that every single food has. We have only one style to give it inside the CSS file. And it is selecting the rating class that we have here and setting its display to flex to make its flex wrap to no wrap. So when we have a small screen, the stars will not go down. They will be shown always like this. Okay, the star rating is finished. Close the star rating files. Then here we are. We added the star images, we added the CSS, and we added the star rating JS file itself. Now is the time for adding the origins and the cook time. Let's add them to the thumbnails. Here we go for the origins and the cook time. I just added a div with the class of product item footer. Inside it for the origins, I used the origins class and I just rendered the foods.origin and I mapped them into span with the key of origin and with the text of origin. And for the cook time, I just used a clock 3 emoji and the cook time text for the text of the cook time. Oh, sorry, here should be food. Instead of foods.origin, we need to use food.origin. Every single food has its own origins. Now, if we go to the browser, we'll see the origins and the cook time like this. Now is the time for adding the price. For the price, I want to create a component for handling its currency and local. Let's do it. So from the Explorer, right-click on the components and select new folder and give it the name of price. Then create a new file with the name of price.js. Doesn't have any CSS file, just converts a normal number into currency. Let's create it. Here we go. For this component, we have 3 input properties: price, local, and currency. Then inside it, we just have a function that uses the intl namespace and number format that gets the local and currency. Then after calling the format function, it converts this price into this local and this currency. So we can simply use this function inside the return of this component. As you can see, everything is happening using the JavaScript itself. And once again, we have default props here. I set the default local to NUS and default currency to USD. But we are going to pass the price from the thumbnails to here. So let's add this price now to the thumbnails. We need to add it after the product item footer. Okay, we just added a div, the class of price, then we added the price component here with the price of food.price. Now, if we go to the browser, we will see the number 10 with the correct currency format, and we have it for all of them. Now is the time for working on the CSS and make these like a real thumbnail. First of all, we want to start from the UL that has the list class. Let's go to the code, close this price and open this thumbnail module CSS. Then let's add the styles for the list. We gave it the display of flex, justify content of center. So it will be center horizontally. Align items center to make it centered vertically. Flex wrap, enabling the wrap. List style type of none, so that bullet on the left side of a UL will be removed, and we set the padding to 0, so the default padding of the UL will be removed. If we go to the browser, we'll see that it is centered horizontally and vertically, and there is no bullet for the items. We just put every single thumbnail inside the link component from a React Router DOM that will be converted into a tag. So let's select them and make these items thumbnail shape. Okay, we gave it just a static width and height, a small beautiful border, a border radius of 1, a margin of 0.5 rem, and for the items inside it, they're going to be a flex item because display is flex, and the flex direction will be column, so it's going to start from the image and goes to the bottom to the price. They're going to have no scroll bar. We'll see that the items are not red. So 100% I made a mistake. Let's check out the thumbnails. Oh, as you can see, the link should not contain only the image. It should contain everything. So put it just before the li. Then save it. Now we have everything as red. Now let's work on the image. Go to the thumbnails, module CSS file, then select image. We just gave it an object fit of cover, so it will not going to lose its aspect ratio, and we set the height to a constant value, so all of them are going to have the same height, even if they have different sizes. Now I want to work on the content class and put this heart icon on the right side and make it gray by using the not class if the food favorite is false. Let's do it by going to the thumbnails.css. So our content are going to have a little bit of margin from the top, 0.5 rem padding from top and bottom, and 1 rem from left and right. Position of relative because its child that is favorite should have a position of absolute, and a constant height of 7 rem. For the favorite icon class, we are going to move it to the top right of the content class, and we are going to make its font size a little bit bigger, and when it's not favorite, its color should be gray. Let's check out the browser. As you can see, we have a little bit of padding and margin, and the heart icon is on the right. Now let's give it a little bit of margin to the stars and put this cook time on the right side. Now if you go to the browser, you'll see stars has a little bit of margin from top and bottom, and we made this item footer justify content to be spaced between, so we have this on the right and we have this on the left. Now let's make these origins more beautiful. Okay, we have the origins more beautiful here. Now let's give flex grow of 9 to the origins and flex grow of 3 to the cook time, and make the cook time a little bit smaller. Then we can make the price more beautiful. Okay, origins are going to have a flex grow of 9, cook time with the flex grow of 3. And for the price, we use the absolute position to put it at the bottom left with the background of white, with the 0.1 rem padding from the top, 100% from the right, 0 from the bottom, and 0 from the left. With this color, with a little bit of margin top, and with this font size to be a little bit bigger than 1 rem. So let's check out the browser. As you can see, our thumbnails are ready. This was about this lesson. On the next lesson, we are going to add the search component and the search functionality to the project. Please follow this course if it was interesting for you. This was Code with Nasir, and I hope to see you next time.